Hello everyone, I am Sakshi with Katyal, a senior faculty and program coordinator at Touchwood Wedding School. In this session, we're going to talk about services of a wedding planner, in which I will also explain you the scope of work. Basically, why do we need a wedding planner? So we're going to talk about the services of a wedding planner in detail. I'll just quickly share my screen with you guys. So before talking about the services of a wedding planner, let me just quickly talk about who is a wedding planner. So basically, a wedding planner is a professional. Why I'm saying is a professional is because a lot of people think that in wedding plannings, we don't need any experts because we have all the elders who can manage the entire wedding. But let me just make it very clear. Things have changed. We need experts for every other thing. And that's the same case with weddings. A wedding planner is a professional person who is trained in order to assist in designing, planning, and managing the entire wedding. So when I'm talking about designing, planning, managing, the last and the most important part is the executing. So whenever we talk of a wedding, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of design, there's a lot of expectations that is set within the client's mind. And as a wedding planner, as an expert, we understand those expectations and basically turn their dreams into reality. As a wedding planner, they follow an SOP. So SOP is standard operating process. So we follow a process so that there is nothing left and there is no mess in the end. Also, we keep in mind the budget constraints, the location constraints, and the various constraints which comes while planning the entire wedding. The scale of the weddings have increased from domestic to international to specific decor requirements to specific artist requirements. And that's the reason that a professional guide is really imperative, is really important in order to get the right guidance and understanding of what is required and when is required. So yeah, as I mentioned that we're going to talk about the services of a wedding planner. So yes, in this, I'm going to take you through the entire services, which is an integral part while planning a wedding. So whenever we talk about the role and responsibilities of a wedding planner, it differs. Why? Because there are a lot of elements which are involved. The scope of work is really huge. And that's the reason that we are here to talk about these services in detail. So I'll just quickly take you through all these services and then we'll talk about each and every service in a detail. So number one is destination. Now destination is the first and the foremost thing which comes in mind whenever we thought of planning any event, whether it's a small birthday party or it's an anniversary or a very big event in everybody's life, that's a wedding. So deciding upon the destination, keeping in mind the budget constraints, keeping in mind the accessibility, keeping in mind that whether we're going to get the right venue or not. So there are a lot of things which comes into account whenever we're going to talk about destinations. The second is design and decor. Some people like it boho, some people like it very glimmery, some people like it very shimmer, some people like it very neutral. So whenever we talk about design and decor, every person, every individual, every couple has a different eye to it. So as a wedding planner, we need to understand the taste of the clients, see the venue, understand what will go when. If you're talking about a summer wedding, what will go fine with the summer wedding. If we are talking about a winter wedding, what will look nice. If we're talking about a pool party, what kind of decor we can have at the pool party. So there's a lot of things which comes into account whenever we talk about design and decor. The third is enthralling artistry, art. So whenever I talk about art, art is not limited to a singer or a painter. Art is something which gives you an entertainment, which attracts the eye of the guest, which excites the guest. So as a wedding planner, it's your moral responsibility and duty to get the right artist at your client's wedding, to get the right kind of engagement and to create the right kind of ambience so that you have the right ambitainment, which is ambience plus entertainment for a wedding or for any event in the wedding, like an engagement, sagan, haldi, whatever. The third and the foremost, the fourth and the foremost is the culinary aspects. Yes, no wedding or no event is possible without the food, and that's the reason the food is the most important part of any wedding. So the right kind of food which matches the taste buds of your clients. Sometimes we handle Punjabi weddings, the taste buds are different. Sometimes we have South Indian clients, the taste buds are different. So again, we need to understand the tradition, the culture, the food, the taste buds of our client, and the right kind of venue has to be chosen so that we get the right chefs. And in case if we need any third party vendors in terms of some specific counters like ice cream counters, chart counters, so we also need to check all that with the venue, that what all is allowed and what all is not allowed. The next is the capturing moments, the right kind of photographer who can capture the right moment, keeping in mind the lights, the keeping in mind the actual, you can say, emotion, candid shots. Again, you will have a lot of people who are photographers, so there's no limit, because there's a lot of creative people in the market, but the right kind of, you can say, manpower or the right kind of vendor is of real importance while planning for wedding. The next is paparazzi moment. So the couple, the close family members should actually feel that this is the most important day of their life, and they are the most important people on this earth right now. So to give them that paparazzi feel, to give them that high-end feel, you need to have the right kind of people who can actually visualize those shots or visualize those special moments and actually execute them. The next is innovative invites. Invitation is again an important, because it's one of the big elements in pre-wedding, where you set a theme, you basically give a guest a freedom to visualize a wedding, that how big it's going to be, how we're going to actually have that grand event. So from e-invites to hard invites, hard copy invites, wherein we have different kind of boxes. We have box invites. We have, you can say, we also are into a lot of invites which are environment friendly these days. Uh, we are also going. We are A lot of people are also trying just digital medium, using online as a platform to invite people. So we're going to also talk about the innovative invites. The next is wedding vows. Now, vows is again a very important part. No wedding is complete without the vows. So how your client visualize the Varmala ceremony, or how do they want their actual rituals to happen? What are the rituals of your client? Now, as a wedding planner, you can't just say that I can plan the wedding, but I don't know what are the rituals, because you are a wedding planner, and it's something which is an integral part of while planning a wedding, and no wedding is complete without their vows. So what all pundits you have, how you're going to do the main ceremonies, what are the things that you require in order to do the ceremonies. So everything is your duty. The next is customizing collaterals and countdowns. 2 days to go. Are you ready? Save the date, block your date, are some of the countdowns which are commonly used while planning a wedding. So, how are we going to talk about these countdowns? How are we going to share these countdowners? What is going on their Instagram page? What is happening on their website? So, again, to create that hype, to basically create that excitement, there are different ways. We're going to talk about this in further presentation. The next is wedding favors. When you invite your guests, again, you have to please them. The goodbye has to be really happy. So whether you want to give them a box of chocolates, a box of sweets, and so it totally depends upon client's requirement. But again, you have to come up with some amazing options, some creative ideas, some amazing, you can say, packings. So we're going to talk about the importance of wedding favors. Makeup experts. If your bride isn't happy, your wedding can never be successful. So you can't just say that I'm a boy, or I'm not a one who is really interested in makeup, because it's an integral part. Again, it's an important part while planning a wedding. So you have to take care of makeup experts. The top shots must be on your tips. whether you talk about Swati Varma, Guneet Virdi, Kriti DS, whatsoever. So I'm just taking the big names of the makeup experts. You have to explore your market, understand whether your bride wants to go on neutrals, on nude makeup, or your one bride has some different requirement. She's also looking for a makeup for her mother or for her hubby, whatever, right? For her relatives. So you need to keep a check on that and create a proper, you can say, sheet, reach out to the experts, and then probably give her a proper solution to it. The next is exceptional hospitality. The reason that I'm saying it exceptional is because if you are inviting somebody to a wedding or to any event, if you are not good at hospitality, the game is gone. Understand one thing: a small smile, a thank you, and basically solving all their queries like this is something which is a must while planning a wedding. So if you are a wedding planner, you have to be super at hospitality. The RSVP, solving all the guest queries in terms of how they're going to reach the venue, what is the mode of transportation, what are the options of flights, XYZ. There are a lot of things which comes into account, and you as a wedding planner have to be really, really careful about all these duties. So because each wedding is unique, each client is special, and their day is super special, and everything is tailor made. There is no book which just defines that as a wedding planner you just have to do this, or if you just read this you can be a wedding planner, because everything is tailor made. You have to stand out. In order to stand out, you have to research, go out, things for unique ideas, execute it, and always have that smile on your face for your client, because it's their the most important day and they would never want to compromise on anything on this particular day. So quickly, I'll just take you to the first service which I was talking about, is the destinations. Now, whenever we talk about planning a wedding, we firstly ask from the client that, sir, what is the destination preference in your mind? Whether you want to go for a local destination, you want to keep it domestic, or you want to go international. So that's kind of mind frame needs to be understand from the very beginning, so that once the location is finalized, you can actually start the further processing. Because if we talk about international, again, we have to be very careful about the frequency of the flights. We have to be careful about the visa documentation. We have to talk about the right kind of venue, the right kind of manpower, the right kind of you can say setup that the bride or the groom is visualizing of. So a clear picture of what destination your client is looking for has to be there. Also, sometimes the clients expects you to give them certain options. So you should always ask their budget and the kind of ceremonies that they want to plan, so that you make them understand that what is the cost of traveling from that, from the local, the home destination to the final destination, because then there is flights, there are logistics. Again, there's a huge cost which is involved in the logistics of all this transportation. So you have to be very clear within your mind frame that what is the destination, what are the, let's say, what are the top two destinations that your client wants. Sometimes the clients are confused, like they're confused between Jaipur and Udaipur. So they're trying to find out that which suits them better. Maybe just because they're not able to get the right kind of venue, maybe because they are not getting the right kind of setup which they have in mind, right? So you have to actually get in the shoes of the client to understand their requirements, to basically understand what are they looking for, and then suggesting them with the possible options. So once the client is okay with the destination, then you talk about the right kind of venue, the right kind of property, the right kind of hotel, because again, you have to keep in mind the most important point, which is the packs. Packs is the number of people, right? You have to understand the maximum and the minimum guarantee from the client, that okay, so these are the maximum numbers that you have in mind. What are the number of rooms that you want? What is the category rooms that you want? Sometimes the client says that we want 5 luxury suites, or 5, let's say, 5 economy. So you have to understand that whether they want executive class, whether they want, let's say, a VIP class. So the category of rooms differ. So you need to also understand their requirement in terms of the number of rooms, so that you can give them the right kind of venue options, right? Whenever we talk about a venue, the accessibility, the connectivity really, really matters, because so that there is no, there's an ease of traveling. The guests should not actually crib on those last moment that they're not getting any transportation. The roads are really bad. There's a construction work going on. So there are a lot of things which comes into account. And also one of the most important part, which is the budget. So until and unless you have the budget, clear budget in your mind, you can't come up with the options, because every property you have to also fix up whether the client is looking for a 5-star, 7-star, 3-star, 4-star. So what kind of property the guest is looking for. So yes, whenever we talk about destination, have a clear picture what destination your client is looking for, and then probably the right kind of venue in which maybe you have various ceremonies. So you would need again banquet halls, lawns. So you're you should have a clear picture in your mind that what is your client looking for, so that you give them the best possible options, right? Let's just quickly talk about the design and decor. So I was talking about the importance of design and decor. Why? Because whenever a client comes and shares their brief, their summary, their requirement with us, they basically talk about their dreams. And as a wedding planner, you have to convert those dreams into reality. Sometimes they talk about that they like pastels. Sometimes they want that we want a white wedding. Sometimes they talk about we have a proper color theme of red and golden in our mind. So as a wedding planner, you have to clearly understand their taste. How do they visualize their wedding? What will they prefer in terms of the color combinations? And then try finding the suitable decor options, so that it should be personalized, it should be beautiful, whether using their initials, whether having their hashtag in the wedding. So for example, the bride really likes butterflies. So how to incorporate those butterflies in the wedding, or the boy is really fond of superheroes. So how can we, let's say, have certain something related to superheroes, let's say, if not in on wedding, on the cocktail day. So you have to figure out those things, because your client's requirements, your client's preference, your client's taste is again of real importance, and you can't miss on those points. Also, budget again is really important in design and decor. But before the budget, you should also keep the kind of venue. For example, you're doing in an outdoor events, you have to understand that what will look good in a daytime outdoor, what will look good inside indoor, let's say in the night time. So you have to understand the right time, the right place for a decor. Also, whenever we talk about design and decor, we actually talk about mood board. So mood board is basically, you can say, whenever we make our presentations, while we pitch to the client, we create a mood board wherein we have a certain color code in the mind, keeping our client's preference, keeping what we think is the right for the client, also the kind of decor that the client is visualizing. So that mood board gives a clear idea, gives a clear picture to our client that if they like pinks and they like, let's say, white, how the entire wedding will look like. If they likes it to be bluish, how the setup will look like. Also, while selecting the colors, because again the lights are going to play an important role in design and decor, keep in mind that the photographers hate pink light. The photographers don't like very different kind of lighting in the wedding, because it really affects the pictures. So as a wedding planner, you have to be really careful for the kind of lights that you use in a wedding. So align the right requirements with the right vendor within the right budget is something which is the duty of a wedding planner. You have to visualize the decor, the theme of all the functions in detail, and take a proper approval from the client, right? So let's just talk about artist. Artist is actually one of the most important things in a in a wedding or in planning any ceremony. And the reason is because people are here to enjoy, people are here to actually forget everything there. People are here to actually get in that groove, get in that mode. So you have to understand your client taste, preference, and the most important thing is budget. Because if I talk about just a very small thing like mehndi artist, you will get a mehndi artist of, let's say, 10,000 to 15,000 rupees. Then again, you will get the artist who will even charge a lakh for the same thing, but the quality differs, right? So you have to understand your client's budget and then only propose them any kind of artist. Whenever we plan of an artist, we actually talk about ambitainment. So ambitainment is basically ambience plus entertainment comes into ambitainment. Ambitainment or ambitainment, you can actually not pronounce it any ways you want, is really important for to create the right kind of vibe, to create the right kind of entertainment, because your guest should actually get engaged with the you actually have to get, you have to engage them with the artist, and they should actually feel that wow factor whenever they are at that ceremony. So whether they're looking for a dancer, a band, a Sufi band, let's say something which is related to high-end 3D setup, something which is related to an act kind of a thing. So you have to get the right requirement of the guest, but also have that clear budget in the mind. Backends and technical requirements are really important. So whenever we hire an artist, we have to understand their tech rider. So a tech rider is the technical requirements of the artist. The manager of the artist share their tech rider with us, and we have a clear picture that what are the requirements of the artist, right? Again, a special effects create a really, really mesmerizing effect whenever we plan such kind of art. Your spotlights, your different kind of lights, your gobo lights, which are, or a 360-degree moving light, again is of really importance, because it's a kind of an excitement that you create. It's kind of an ambience that you create, right? Also, whenever we look for an artist, well, number one, we have to check their availability. So before confirming anything to your client, check whether that the artist is available or not. Once they are available, you also need to add on the travel, stay, and logistics of the artist in the budget, because the artist is going to take a proper, you can say, logistics cost from you, in which will involve their travel. So maybe if they're traveling from Bombay to Delhi, their flight tickets, the flight tickets of their team members, right? So you have to be very much sure and get that right kind of cost, right? The next is the culinary aspect. So like I was saying that food is a real of real importance. If you are a guest, don't get the right food, actually they will not walk out happy from the wedding. So a best caterer, when I say best, I mean ideal, something which suits. If you're doing a Marwadi wedding, their taste buds will be different. If you're doing a Punjabi wedding, their taste buds will be different. Also, the presentation is of real importance. It should match the theme, the design, the decor of your wedding. So if you have lots of blacks and you have a lot of reds, goldens, so try having your crockery around that colors only. If you're talking about a lot of neutral shades, something which is related to peach, whites will work in your case. So again, you have to not only get the right caterer, but also get the right kind of crockery for your wedding. Also, it depends upon the preference, the size, and the scale of the venue. You need to understand the packs, you need to understand the taste buds, and then look for an ideal caterer for the wedding. Whenever we do such weddings, a lot of times it happens that we get the food, the main course and the starters from the venue itself. So it is preferred that you do a food tasting before the wedding, so that your client also gets the idea. And in case if they want to share few tips, like they don't want it spicy, they want to keep it very mild, or maybe let's say they want to keep the oil very limited. They don't want it very oily food, or maybe they want something specific which represents their culture, their tradition. So you can fix up their meeting with the head chef of the hotel. Also, there are times when we get all the main food from the venue, but we also have those special counters at the wedding, like an ice cream counters. Let's say we call Baskin Robbins to get the ice cream, or maybe we have Atul Chaat Bhandar for the chart sections, or maybe we have some different person who is from Punjab and they have that mini truck which represents their culture. So all these permissions are need to be taken from the venue people way in advance, whether they will allow the food from outside. If yes, what kind of setup, what will be the placement, where their section will be placed. Again, that's again very very important part. Next, it is always suggested that you sit with the client and maybe the head chef or the banquet manager of the hotel and get the menu curated, because every client has specific preference in terms of, some people want no garlic, no onion, some people want less salt, some people want spicy, some people want very mild, some people don't want the oil. So you should sit with the head chef, give them those tips, give them those pointers. Also, you can always select the kind of so there will be a lot of options on the menu, so you can sit and you can have your menu created with the client, so that there is no last minute mess and there is no last minute additions to the menu. We can have the finest venue, finest menu, finest food, but if the service is not top notch, then there is no point of actually having such you can say good food, because you should have people who are trained, who know how to deal with guests, who know how to serve to the guests, and hygiene is real important. So whether they are wearing the cap, whether they are wearing the gloves, whether the uniform is clean or not is of real importance, right? The next is capturing moments. Photography and cinematography again is important. The right kind of photographer who can capture the right moment at the right time. Pre-wedding shoot is again a very important thing these days. A lot of people go, even they travel from one place to another to get the right pre-wedding shoot done. Some people travel to mountains, some go to beaches, some even travel international. So you have to understand with your client that what do they have in mind with reference to their pre-wedding shoot. Also, there are a lot of locations which are there in the market in which you can actually just go to get those right pictures. Like there's a place called the Perfect Location, which is in Gurgaon. So again, they have different themes, they have different setups. So you can go there. There's a grease field, then there's a park, there's a library. So even if you have a story, let's say the guys had met each other in college. So you can even create that kind of setup in that area to get that feel and to get that right capture. So you have to suggest all these things to the client. Make sure that you get the right kind of the right pictures and the right videos are captured. The right songs are used. Ask the photographer to share the list of songs that they have in mind, and then probably the client can shortlist. Because again, these are the very very small details, but are very important things in somebody's life. So you have to be very careful about those things. Also, be very much sure about the deliverables with the timelines. A lot of times it happens that we use these pictures for our save the date, for our teasers, for our countdowners. So make sure that you follow those timelines to tell your photographers to deliver these pictures at the right time, so your countdowners or maybe your collaterals are not delayed. So deliverables on time as per the timelines are of real importance, right? Then your show flow should be shared in advance, so that your guest and also your client knows that, okay, when she has to go for the pre-wedding shoot, when she has to go for this, so that there is no there's no mess in the end, and your photographer and your client are on the same page, right? Also, there are a lot of times that we as a wedding planner are responsible to update the Instagram and the Facebook pages of the bride and the groom, so basically to upload the pictures. So write snippets, write videos, right kind of photos has to go on these pages with the right kind of caption. So you have to take care of those things also. The next is paparazzi moments. How do you create those that that the special factor, that wow factor, that awe factor is something which is very important. You have to create those larger than life experiences. Whether you have that big 6-layer cake, whether you have those fireworks which make these the bride and the groom important, whether you have a different kind of entry, whether you have a different kind of welcome for the bride and groom, whether you use those let's say confinity, whether you use these anars, whatever. So how are you going to create those larger than life experiences for your bride and groom is something is of real importance. You should be different. You should come with creative ideas and create the special moments in everybody's life. Look for things. Look, actually, get into your client's shoes and understand what do they like, what are the small things that they talk. So try to incorporate those things and create those special moments for them. The next is, as I was talking about innovative invites, these days we're also putting a lot of stress on those e-invites. E-invites is electronic invites, which we generally share. Now we can also do that WhatsApp. Sometimes we do it personally by sending the emails, or probably getting in touch with the clients all over the call and explaining. So there's a altogether it's a real importance, because you might have to even take the last minute confirmations from the guest. So we generally give both the options to the clients. Sometimes the client opt for both the options, whether it is physical and invite. So basically they send a physical invite, and the countdowners are sent in the form of e-invites, such as save the dates or block your dates, right? Or maybe sharing some theme of the event. So you have to give them the right vendor suggestions. You have to give them the right color theme, because that should also match the mood board of the ceremony. You should keep their budget and their preference in mind, whether they want a scroll card, whether they want a box card, whether they want to give chocolates, sweets, or something else. So you have to understand their color preference, the mood board that you have for their ceremonies, and then only suggest them with the options. It has to be unique, it has to be innovative, it has to be creative. If we are even talking about e-invites, what an e-invites, what all things that we can use. If we're talking about a WhatsApp video, what are the things we can incorporate in that video? So again, that's really important. If we specifically talk about physical invites, their distribution and logistics is also of real importance. You have to take care about, you have to manage those routes as per the timelines. The cards should reach to the guests on time, understanding their availability. Sometimes people are not available. So a proper RSVP has to be done, whether they are available, whether we can come to give them the card or not, who will travel with whom. So everything has to be done, and so that you don't miss on anything. Then comes your wedding vows. So again, as I said, that it's an integral part of planning any wedding. You should, as a wedding planner, know about the rituals of what is ghurchadi, what is padfera, what is dudo. So you should all know all these things. You should know what is the difference between anand karaj. So the reason that I'm talking about all these is, as a wedding planner, you can't just run and say that I know how to get that right decor, but ritual is not my cup of tea. But obviously you can't learn everything from day one. But what you can do is, you can actually start making a note of certain rituals that you may have witnessed in one wedding, so that it gives you, by the time you've done 4 5 weddings, you have a clear picture, okay, that in Marwadi there are these important things. And be very a keen observer. And the reason that I'm saying that, because you need to observe those minute details, because there's these minute details are the rituals. They represent their tradition, represent their culture, and no family or no couple will ever compromise on these particular things. So try to be a keen observer, observe those, have a knowledge of all the rituals of different culture, different religions, and try to understand them and further then implement them. If it's in case if you have certain doubts, you should always sit with the client and note all these rituals in detail, maybe in a notebook or in a diary, because this really helps you on the day of the event. You can ask the question 10 times that day when you are in a discussion mode with the client. But in case if there's a mess, and if there's something which is wrong will happen on the day, but obviously the client will get pissed off. So make sure that you ask that particular time and you clear all your doubts. The next is customizing countdowns. Like I use the use of hashtags, the use of the right words, the right liners. 2 days to go for this. Are you ready? Save the date, block your dates are of real importance to add that personal touch. Because a lot of times it happens that the client or the bride wants to create that hype in the market where all the family members, the relatives get really excited. There is some dress code, there is some specific theme that we use. So you have to make sure that you use those and incorporate those themes in the you can say while planning the countdowns. You can pick up the colors and the elements that your client like. You can actually the printing and the quality real is of real importance. So again, sit with the client and discuss. Then comes your wedding favors. The unique and innovative favors add a lot of personalization and customization. Again, hashtags, the colors that your bride like, are of real importance. So make sure that you talk to the client in advance and you understand those things well in advance, right? Sorry for that noise, guys. Then comes your even in this, a lot of times the client shares that their preference and their budget, because you have to give the best deal, understanding their requirements. So make sure that you sit with the client and discuss all these things in detail. As I mentioned, a few names, availability, like we check the availability of the artist, make sure that you ask the bride the skin type, the choice, the location, the event, the budget. Also managing the travel and stay, so basically logistics. You have to check with the bride in advance, what is her preference, what kind of makeup expert, does she have few names in her mind. If she's totally dependent upon you, make a list, tell her what basically what kind of categories they are in the market. Like for example, if you're talking about 5 makeup expert, what do they specialize in? Where is their location? Are they okay in traveling to the location, or she has to travel to their saloon? So make sure that you sit with the bride and discuss about her color of the lehenga, dress color, then hair accessories, everything, so that even if you are talking to the makeup experts or their managers, you still have a clear picture in the mind. Your guest list, RSVP, reminder messages, confirmations, doing the same coordination with the hotels, number of rooms, what all will go in the room, what is the time of the check-in, how are we welcoming the guest, everything has to be you can say properly done in a proper frame, because providing guests with the necessary information and keeping them involved is of real importance. Make sure that you have your personal concierge, or you can also call it as a festivity desk, wherein in case if there is a problem or the guest wants to ask something, they can simply come to that festivity desk, and you have your trained professionals sitting there who are there to help them and solve all their queries and assist them in all the points. So make sure you have those people. Thank you so much for this session. So the scope is real huge. So I've shared the list of the services. So you will not eventually learn everything from day one, but what you can do is you can start working in a particular segment. For example, you start working with hospitality, and then you move on to talking with photographers or vendor coordination. So you will excel day by day, and you can't just learn everything from day one. So that's all for this session. Thank you so much for having me here. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you so much.